And recording. So it's start date 12th of March 2018. And this is a day 2 of a TTT webinar. So some of you, was everybody here for day 1? Or did some of you, yeah, okay, that's all right. It's okay. Jill, did you see day 1? Did you see the recording? Yeah, okay, cool.
I did.
Great. Hi, Placid. I see you. I see your forehead. There you go. Hello, brother. Can you hear me? Placid? No, he's muted. No sound.
I'm also in Kigali, and Placid is sitting beside me, but I don't know if he hears anything. Do you hear anything, Placid? He does.
Okay, good. There we go. So, Gunilla, why don't you lead us forward bravely from Kigali?
Yeah, so I welcome you also very much, and I'm sorry if it's a bit noisy here. I was supposed to do this from somebody's house, but I'm sitting in a public space, and so is Placid. So I think, Placid, can you please mute your mic? So, this is fantastic. I welcome you all to this second part of this webinar, and I hope you hear me. We are wanting you all to make a short introduction of yourself and keep it very short, even if you like taking a lot of time, but since we are quite many, please make it short and tell us what you have done since before, and if you weren't here, just a little bit, so that we know where we are, and then we will continue from there, because we can also get from it other experiences. But really, and if you get too long, we will shorten it from our side. So please go ahead. If I'll ask Jill to start.
Certainly. Hi, my name is Jill. I'm from New York, and let's see. I have read the book, which I had finished, I guess, right before the first session. I have viewed the first session, and I've been looking at some of the articles that you suggested. Is that a good start for an introduction? Good.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Wonderful. Just tell, because you already do some tapping, don't you? I mean, in one way or another. So just tell a little bit.
Sure.
If something has changed since you read this. If something has changed since you read this.
So what has changed is my thinking about how I'm going to use this. I'm going to be going on a medical service trip in Nepal in September into October, and I'm not a doctor, a medical doctor. And so I thought this was something that I may be able to offer while I'm there. And so I'm also doing some picture tapping technique, which is interesting to think about the various ways to use the different types of work that I do, EFT, and now learning about TTT, and also doing picture tapping.
We will be happy to hear more about that later. So thank you so much, Jill. So then there is, or Ulf, did you want to add something or ask
Nope,
something? Or
I'm good. I'm fine.
So let's go to, there is Jill Koppang also. So let's go to Jill.
I'm Jill, and I'm in British Columbia, and I've had an opportunity to work with 2 people with the tapping, and it was very interesting how it went. So I'm really looking forward to being able to feeling more comfortable with it myself to be able to do it. So that's where I am right now. I have read the book and watched the webinars and have done a fair amount of reading. So feeling pretty good about it.
Great. Thanks.
And those were the 2 first of your tapping in general?
Yep. I've done it on myself. I've sort of played around with it a little bit, but I've never actually done it with anybody else. So yeah, that was my first adventure.
Wonderful. We like adventures. So wait, so let's go to Bianca, who is there on my right side.
Yes, I'm Bianca. I live very close to Paris. I'm an EFT trainer, so I've been tapping a lot for years. And I have a little group that I usually play around with different experiments. And TTT is very interesting to many of them. And I'm trying to make contacts so that we will get it to people who really need it, like populations, like women, mistreated women, and refugees, minors, and things like that. Psychiatry. There is interest. We will see how it goes. Is that all right?
Wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, so Bianca, we met in Yorkshire 1 month ago.
In
So,
Yorkshire,
yeah,
yes.
so when we had a training there with at an EFT gathering. Yeah, nice, good. So thank you so much, Bianca, in France. And then we go to Odette.
Hello, I'm
Please.
Odette. I am from Scotland. I'm in Scotland right now. I wasn't able to be at the last webinar, but I managed to watch it once online before it became unavailable. I don't know if there's a short time on it or something, but I can't get it now. I would have watched it again, particularly the discussion at the end. I've been using TTT ever since we met in Yorkshire with all of my clients. I teach it to, so that they can use it themselves. And they're finding it very helpful because they don't have to talk. There are no right words. And that's making a massive difference for them. I am in the process of linking with people here. We've had taken in a lot of refugees in the Glasgow area and in Scotland, far more than the rest of the UK. And I'm trying to link with people who have links with various refugee families to see if I can actually introduce it there. But that hasn't happened yet. I'm in the process.
Great, thank you so much, Odette. Wonderful to see you again. Mm-hmm.
You too.
So next in row then for Lena, who is here on my screen. You come next.
Hi, I'm Lena from Sweden. I read your book earlier and even tapped other people, but I tap myself every day. So that's what I have to say.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lena. And then we go to Mary Ann, please.
Hi, I'm Marianne, and I'm from British Columbia. I'm currently in Hawaii, though. Lucky for me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Hawaii is like the image we grew up with of paradise or something like that.
Yes, and it's early in the day here, unlike some of the rest of you. Our time is 11 hours difference, I think. So I'm fairly new to TTT. I did some EFT in the past. I love TTT and the fact that there's no words involved. I most recently trained in Havening, and I'm in California just in the last week.
Wow.
Who were you training for? Who was the trainer?
Who was the trainer?
Kate Tate.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to incorporating it into my next go round of how I work with people.
Wonderful. I'm a Havening trainer too.
Yes, I know you are. I just couldn't get to Sweden.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Are you going to? Are you going to be in New York in June?
Oh, if I can make that happen, I will.
Yeah, I'm going to be there presenting a bit of Havening.
I noticed that you're on the list.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
Cool.
exciting. Thank you.
And that's wonderful. And for you others who are not familiar with Havening, we can just do some self-havening in the end, which is a kind of, very much related technique to tapping. And we often teach the self-havening in our trainings too. So that's very good. It's a very good tool. I'm also trained, but I'm not a trainer. So thank you so much, Marianne. And then let's go to Pearl.
Hi everybody, I'm in Jerusalem. I've lived here for about a year. Been an EFT practitioner for 10 years, and I'm running groups and I'm training people, and absolutely love the TTT. I've been using it loads, very eclectically within the practice. I do actually talk whilst I have people with their eyes closed, and I do speak when people are going around the points. I do tend to do that. I do my own thing with it, but people are loving it. Really, really getting great results. There's something about it that's very different from the EFT that is going really well. But I do a mixture.
So if in short, what would you say for you is the difference compared to EFT?
The difference is, I think it comes out more, it's slower. I think they like the slowness, and they can tune into something with their eyes closed. And then I speak very softly. I might say things like, just tuning into my body, noticing where I'm feeling it. I kind of speak much more in a meditative way. And I'm seeing a lot of movement with clients. I can't be specific because I'm just arrived, but I can't think. But,
I'm just curious what you would say.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pearl. Thank you. And fantastic to have you with from Jerusalem.
Thank you.
And I hope you had a good flight there. Yeah.
Yes,
so then let's go to Adara, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Oh, okay. No, I had to unmute myself. I'm Reverend Dr. Dara Walton. I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I've been a long time user of tapping, period, having studied with a little bit with Callahan in 1998. And then I studied with Dr. Ebert. It's called AFT, Attractor Field Technique, but that was the tapping technique associated with what we call LOCs, Level of Consciousness chart. Then along came EFT, and I became a master trainer also for EFT. I love TTT over all of these. Again, for the specific, it's just simple. It's in its simplicity, to me, is its strength. And I'm currently associated with a program here, an organization that a lot of abused, emotionally traumatized women come through. And I just found out as of this morning, 3 of the organization people are getting certified with TTT at this point. And I know they're going to take this out to their population of participants. So I'm still using this in my, private practice, and it is just extremely powerful. So I have every intention, since I live in the Southwest out here in New Mexico, they're not familiar with this. And that's because EFT has such a, marketable presence. So I have every intention of getting TTT up to par out in the Southwest. But I also have connections back to other states, District of Columbia, Virginia, and Maryland. And I will be seeing clients there and going to a church. And I am absolutely, since I'm also clergy, I'm going to be spreading TTT. And that's its power and simplicity. And I do tap myself. That's the other power of it. So I love having something that others can use.
Wonderful.
That I can
Wonderful.
use.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adara. So then we go to Amy Marie.
Hello, I'm from the United States, in the state of Ohio.
Yay!
Right in the Midwest. I'm just feeling so emotional, even hearing all these people checking in. I've been using it. Well, first of all, we started doing it at home every night before we go to bed, and because I have a 5-year-old, and I'm just touched at how it's like a way of entering into prayer. It's a way of actually embodying that healing energy. So that's one way that we've been using it. I also teach kids, and actually just received a grant for a project that I've been doing that I'll be expanding next year. And I'm really excited because TTT is one of the primary tools that I use for self-regulation, emotional self-regulation. And so I'm actually going to try to implement a tool that will sort of try to measure some of these effects that it has on the students. I'm not exactly sure what that tool is going to look like right now, but I'm going to have some help developing it. I just feel so thankful for the TTT because with children, it's so because of the simplicity. It's so effective. And even my daughter knows exactly how to do it. And I just see it being a very important tool for schools. And that's where I'm hoping to be doing some more work too, of spreading it to different school districts in my area, because I think it's just so incredibly important.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Marie. So I see now that also Frida has come. Are you there? Are you hearing us, Frida?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we
finally.
Now we will see you.
You cannot see me?
We can see you.
Good.
Oh, okay, good. Hi.
Yeah, now we see. I mean, I see you. Yeah.
Okay. Do I have to
Yeah.
look at that
So
green
I will
thing?
just. The green thing is the camera. Yeah.
Yes.
So just a little while. I'll just. That's fantastic. I will just ask Placide to make his introduction, and just wait a little bit, Frida, and we'll come back to you. I will mute my mic because Placide is in my same place, so it will be going round if I have it on. So I will close and ask.
Okay, I'll
Okay, Placide.
So do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We hear you? Yeah. I'm Placide, as Ganira said, from Rwanda, in Africa. I use TTT personally every day, and I call it my briefcase. I go with it wherever I am. I can say I'm easily to sense people who has like stress or trauma in this region where we live. So I've been practicing by myself and with different people, and I train different people here in Rwanda. We work a lot, with my colleagues, to train the psychologists and nurses in one of the institutions here in Rwanda called Rwanda Correction Service. They deal with prisoners. So seen as effective, we were able to gather different testimonies from different people that we have been training. So for me, it is a great weapon to handle or to deal with the stress and trauma, is what I can say briefly. Thank you for having me.
Great. So you can just, so Placide is our colleague here, so we are working together now. So we just came from a training actually with people with disabilities who are part of an art project. So so we do a lot of work both here in Uganda and Congo together, and so we are happy to have Placide with us tonight also. So, and now Frida, it's your turn, please.
What would you like to know?
Sorry, just where you are geographically, and how if you have used tapping or TTT, it's how just a little bit like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually from Holland, but I live in northern Scotland right now, and I've lived in South Africa and Canada and other places. I'm a EFT practitioner, but when I came across TTT, I was so hooked. I thought it was just, fantastic. And I've been practicing on my friends here in Scotland. And since I've worked with EFT and initially facial harmony, facial touch, since 1995 as a healing modality, and I worked in Sarajevo just after the war. But then you need a massage table and a therapist, and with TTT, you can teach it easily and make it more accessible. That's why I'm so enthusiastic about it and would love to get involved and yeah, be of service.
Oh, that's wonderful. Fantastic. And that you already also experienced. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. And fantastic to hear all your experiences from how you have been using tapping, because it is like, I mean, this tool is, as we say, I mean, you carry it with you all the time. So it is so great that we can all be able to share it with others. So,
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And
okay.
Ulf, perhaps you have something? Sorry? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very good. Thank you so much, Frida.
Thank you, Frida.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't join us earlier, my name is Ulf. I work with Gunilla. We are both co-founders of the Peaceful Heart Network and TTT. And when I'm in Sweden, I work with clients on a one-to-one basis. I also work with mental training and coaching for sport teams. And I use TTT as part of everything I do there. I also train in Havening, and they are both intertwined. So we'll talk about that later. But I find it extremely efficient, extremely useful. I do hypnosis, I do NLP, I do all kinds of healing modalities, and the tapping is a fundamental part in all of it. So Gunilla, why don't you present yourself?
Yeah, so for you who don't know me either, I started doing this tapping here in Rwanda, where I am now. Actually, in the original, it was in 2007, so it's already 11 years ago. It was in February of 2011 I came here. I even actually brought my diary here now from 2007, and I was reading what happened actually the first time when I came here with my mentor, Dr. Johnson from Virginia. And we started the work here with orphans of the genocide, young survivor orphans of the genocide here. And since then, been coming back actually each year, sometimes several months, and sometimes like now I'm here for 3 weeks. And as Placide mentioned, we are working, among other things, with the Rwanda Correctional Service, which is the prison system here. They have very extensive program for working with emotional health and mental health in the prisons. And so they have been happy to receive also another tool like this, and we just actually wrote a report today to them, because we have done some follow-up interviews in different places, in different prisons. And it seems that people are really using it very much, both the staff and the inmates, and find it, as somebody mentioned before, that it is non-verbal, that people can heal also from things you don't want to talk about. And you can understand that for some of those who are actually in prison for being actors of this genocide, it is both revealing and because you can heal from things before you can actually talk about those things. Well, I mean, TTT helps people, what we see through those interviews, to accept what they have actually done and start talking about it. So it is a powerful tool in many ways, even if it, as we always say, looks very funny and is like so simple. So that's me. So since then, I've been coming to many different places, and we've been going, and Ulf and I have been also traveling to many places. I was also lately in January in Greece, working with an organization with healthcare for refugees who come from other parts of the world, and then entering Europe through Greece. So, yeah, we see this, as many of you mentioned. There is this huge field where you can use this tapping. Actually, there is, what I can see, no limit to it, because you can use it everywhere, because people are stressed everywhere. Unfortunately, it's crazy, but it is like that. So, welcome so much, everybody. We're super happy to have you all here.
Yeah. So basically, last time what we went through was some of the basics. We looked at applications where tapping has been used, where we've been using it and spreading it. I don't actually, it's all kind of falling together for me because we're doing a lot of webinars. So we're going to have to ask you a little bit about what we did last time. We did see some songs, didn't we, with trauma tapping songs? Is that correct? Yes, great. And did we look at a PowerPoint with a green PowerPoint with some points about attitude and how we work with tapping? I can see on Jill's body language that we didn't. No, and Jill, both Jills are doing this, but we don't hear you, but we see your body language. That's fine. So we're going to look at that. And we're going to, I mean, the whole thing is this. We do these webinars as an online training because we can't be in all your countries at the same time. We want you to learn this from the webinar and go out there and just simply start using this. We want you to get certified for your own sake, not for our sake. And the certification process is that you report 6 cases of doing tapping with somebody. And then there is an assessment online and all that you will find on our webpage, which is being updated right now. So this is our hope that you will feel completely confident just getting up from this chair in a couple of, an hour or whatever this takes, and just going out and starting to use this and getting certified. The reason is that we believe that emotional health care involves first aid for those where it hasn't helped yet, and resilience training and emotional health care and hygiene for those who are okay to avoid becoming not okay. So we see the tapping procedure as something that you can teach in schools, you can teach it to kids, you can teach it to grown-ups in a workplace, you can teach it to people working with people who are traumatized, and you can use it with large groups of people to help them if they have already become stressed. So it works in both ends of the scale and the spectrum. There's not a need for talking. That doesn't mean that you can't, of course, and it can be combined with so many other modalities and types of help. So, whatever way you feel like using it or working with it, it's welcome. All your questions are welcome. The more questions you have, the better. This is a webinar, it's taped, so other people can see it. So, please ask away anything you want. So if that's okay with you, Gunilla, what do you think? Should we go through the PowerPoint then?
I think that's a good idea. You do that. Go,
yeah,
because it goes so much into the way that we look at this work. So that's fine.
Yeah, and you could say, before we start the PowerPoint, I could say this. The actual tapping, the TTT, is a part of what we do, but it fits into a bigger part is the attitude that we do it with. The attitude is, and in part, me and Gunilla, we were driving. We thought we were going to do a 2-hour drive in California, but it turned out that we got the cities wrong, so it was an 8-hour drive, and we were falling asleep. So we did a manifesto just to keep ourselves awake, and it's turned out really useful. And that's part of this PowerPoint. So I'm just going to start, and when I start this, I won't be seeing you anymore. So if you raise your hand like this going, can I say something? I won't hear it. I'm not ignoring you. I just don't hear it. So unmute yourself if you have a question, okay? Wave your hand if you hear and understand me. Okay, or do a dance step. That's okay too. Okay, thanks. There we go. So now I'm going to swap over the desktop and we're going to look at PowerPoint, this magical thing. There we go. So here we are. This is our PowerPoint. For TTT, First Aid for Stress and Trauma. So, language-free help for laymen and professionals. Learn in 10 minutes, do it in 5. Yeah, that's a slogan that we were helped with by one of our collaborators once. The thing is this, it's language-free help for laymen and professionals because we think that first aid is something anybody can do. Everybody has a right to help somebody. People who are professional can fit it into treating people, and those who aren't can give it as first aid or resilience training. So let's look at what the essentials are of mental health in general, right? So mental health is something that happens depending on our landscape in our body. If we don't rest, if we don't eat, if we don't drink, and if we don't exercise, we're probably going to be worse off mentally as well. And basically, I'm just realizing we should probably call this emotional health rather than mental because we think it's more about that. But anyhow, social context. Emotional and mental health happens in a context. When you are with people you feel safe with, you will act and feel and be in one way. And when you are in a threatening environment or an aggressive environment, you're probably going to feel another way. So it's not only about you, it's about where you are. Acceptance is vital, because when you have an emotion that you're unhappy with, you can't really do much about it until you accept that it's there. Once you accept that it is there, you can tap on it and do a lot of other things. But when you resist it and push it aside, our experience is that it's not going to be helpful. Meaning is something that you can attach to anything. It's like the Dalai Lama says. What is it he says, Gunilla? Suffering is optional.
Come again, I didn't.
Yeah, suffering is optional, right?
Yeah. No, it is like pain is inevitable. But suffering is optional. It is meaning, yeah.
Yeah. So by attaching meaning to what happens,
because it is always there will.
Yes. No, go ahead, Gunilla.
Sorry. Yeah, no, but it's just this that I mean, we all go through pain, and it is. I mean, in Swedish we have this saying, "Det är inte hur du har det, utan hur du tar det," which means it's not the way what you say. Help me, Ulf. I mean, the way it's how we take things. That's how.
Yeah, it's not what happens
makes
to
things
you.
Good or bad.
Yeah, it's not what happens to you. It's how you relate to it. It just sounds cooler in Swedish.
And that's very. Yeah, it sounds cool. At least Lena gets it, so that's good. At least one person gets it. Because in Swedish it's a...
Yeah. Okay, so then we go from meaning to empowerment. We think empowerment is vital. When we try to help people to help themselves, we're helping them to help themselves in their community. We're not coming in trying to tell them what to do, and they are here. We're coming on their level, giving them a tool that we use for ourselves so that they can use it for their community and themselves. So that's the part of empowering people. Becoming a part of your own healing is empowering. Being able to help others is empowering. Being helped by somebody who is an expert is less empowering. So we think empowerment is vital whenever we do this. We always end the session by saying thank you and congratulations to the person that we were helping. And we think you should be prepared. Be prepared for the worst. Be prepared mentally and emotionally for things to go wrong. Be prepared for mistakes. Be prepared to fail. And be prepared to succeed. That way you're not going to be overwhelmed by surprise, regardless of what happens. We think it's essential that you focus on the now and the future. Now and what you want to have happen, not what has happened or why it happened, because a lot of the time there is no why. So when you keep asking yourself, why did this happen? Why did it happen to me? What did I do wrong? The most probable thing is that you're not going to get any true answers from anybody unless you have direct connection with God, and then you will, and that's fine, but then you don't need the manifesto. And then we have...
I just want to... Can I just add, just as I was thinking of what I find so fascinating with this topic is that this both this with acceptance and focus now and forward comes like automatically through this technique, or I mean through doing the tapping. So especially this with acceptance, it's so many times that I hear people when they have used tapping or when they have had it done for them, they say, yeah, he did his best, or you know, it's like this kind of comments that shows that the person has accepted the situation without saying you have, I mean, because all therapy comes to this accepting what has happened or accepting the situation it is. But with this, it is that it grows from inside. It just comes out of itself, exactly like focus now and forward, because when you're stressed or traumatized, you live more in the past. And then by bringing people to the present through this technique, for example, of course there are many other ways, but with this one, it is like just opening the door for now for somebody. It's like, whoops, taking away a curtain, and suddenly the person is already here and starts looking ahead and starts talking about the future, just without anybody saying, oh, how is it? How do you think about the future? What is it now? That's
Yeah. And in a way, you could say neurologically that the tapping calms down the nervous system so that the body is calm. And when the body is calm, it is actually accepting what it is feeling and thinking. So, I mean, we are neurologically, in a way, accepting whatever upset us. Because when we tap, we are becoming calm, which is, in fact, accepting it. And that also will move the mind to look forward. So then we have different strategies for self-regulation. I'm sure all of you have some strategy for self-regulation before you learn tapping, or if you're new to it, because everybody does something to calm down. Some people bite their nails. Some people smoke. Some people take a glass of wine. Some people take a shower. Some people exercise, or they have an animal that they cuddle with. Some people call a good friend, talk to a bartender, ride a taxi, talk to a stranger, look for dance or music. There are so many ways to self-regulate. We say that TTT is one more that anybody can do anywhere, regardless of the situation. But that's just putting self-regulation in a context. So then we have the fact that we're working without words. Now, that means that there are no setup phrases or affirmations. Now, if you're doing EFT, you've probably worked with affirmations. And if you have questions about it, we could explain exactly why. But I mean, the bottom line is we feel it's not necessary. It's so much easier to work with it in large groups. There is no need. We haven't found it. People need to connect to whatever they're treating to treat it. And in the Western world, in our part here, it's possible that some people have a hard time connecting to what they want to treat. But actually, most people know what it is. And we also don't like asking about experiences, because regardless if you're a therapist or just helping a friend, it's very rare that they need you to know what happened to them. If they do, they can feel free to talk about it. For some people, talking about it is an essential part of healing, and that's fine. But there is no need to ask about it, because even asking about it can make it overwhelming, and that's not necessary. And that comes to the next point, which is no suffering. And with this, we mean that it's one thing if you've been abused, or you've been through an accident, or you've been through trauma, that's one thing. Having it affect you emotionally means it's still affecting you on a daily basis. Having to talk about it on top of that is just unnecessary suffering. It's not necessary for this self-regulation to work. So the next point here is that we think that you should make stress and trauma your friends.
Wait, I just want to say, I mean, it is like, I mean, it's constantly this, that it is that on the other side, if somebody wants to talk about it and feel this is relieving me, then of course that is perfectly fine. Just like Pearl was saying that, I mean, or somebody was talking about this, that, I mean, talking is not, it's not that we say don't do talking, but it has to be from the perspective of the person, that it's not necessary. That is the fantastic thing, because in the West, at least, there has been so much focus on the cognition and talking and reasoning, and this is working from another end.
Yep. Okay, so we have the next point is make stress and trauma your friends. They're there to help you. They are part of your nervous system, and they actually are there to save your life. So neither stress nor trauma is bad or a problem. It's working. Your body and your nervous system is doing exactly what it should do. All right. So let's see what that means. Understanding stress, understanding that stress is there to help you, is there to save you. it's your body's reaction to give you a superpower to escape from the tiger or whatever that is, the cliche of stress. It's when stress happens over a long time that it can become overwhelming. And it can also affect you in different ways. So, understanding the encoding of trauma, how trauma is encoded. Now, we ran into the actual neurological explanation of the encoding of trauma. The first really good explanation we read was in the book of Ronald Gruden, when he was studying tapping for 16 years and wanted to come up with a hypothesis of how trauma is actually encoded neurologically, biologically, and the actual hormones involved. And that led to havening, which works by the same principles in so many ways. Just it's a different explanation model than the one that is commonly associated with tapping. Regardless of which, a trauma encodes in a moment, and it's a memory with a trigger. So anything can trigger that memory, and that memory has an emotional component which is overwhelming, which is the traumatic, overwhelming part. Now, the trigger could be anything. It could be a smell, anything through your senses, a smell, a sound, a feeling, something visual. And by understanding that, it's also possible to understand how to understand traumatic reactions, how they can appear from nowhere, how they can be hard to explain, how trauma can be transferred from one person to another, how it can manifest in the body, which is called somatization, and then finally understand self-regulation, which also is how to de-encode trauma. Right. So the TTT toolbox, if we may call it that, consists of what we call sometimes tension tapping and sometimes trauma tapping. It's the same abbreviation. If you're using it for trauma, we call it trauma tapping technique. If you're using it just to relax, we call it tension tapping. The reason we have two names is that in the Western world, again, it's very taboo in some places to claim that you can do anything about trauma. So we just say it's a relaxation exercise. It's tension tapping. And then we also have some other techniques.
Wait.
Yes, go ahead.
So, yeah, and in other places it is the opposite. Like when we started working here in Rwanda, that people know that they are, that it is trauma it is about, and it's not tension or stress, it is trauma. So then coming with, and that's how the original name of this technique came up, that we really specialized in working with people who were traumatized, and that's how the trauma tapping technique. So that's why we have these two different ways of saying.
Yeah. And then we have other techniques. So the toolbox of TTT isn't only TTT. We have other techniques that we also use, head holding techniques that we looked at last time, and they come from Tapa pressure technique. It's a big toolbox where we're using one component, basically. It's very helpful. It's easy to teach. It's easy to remember. And then we also do something which is called alpha theta breathing, which is also part of the TTT, but it can be used separately as well, which is breathing in, holding your breath, breathing out and relaxing. If you do that 3 times in a row, you're basically moving your brain waves from the alpha spectrum to the theta spectrum, which is a more relaxed state.
I have a question.
Yes.
I want to go back to the head holding technique because I just have a quick question, because as an energy kinesiologist, I'm trained in that. I just want to make sure, because when you did it, that's what I've learned is we call it FO holding, frontal occipital. And I also use another one called ESR, emotional stress release techniques. That's where you put the fingertips over the stress release points over the eyebrows. So are you saying we can use, or because I know them and I use them often with clients, I can use either the ESR or the FO holding technique along with the TTT?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And often, like when I do TTT for somebody, I often end up with just this head holding, just holding the And what you call it, we just call it head holding just because it's head holding, and people have done it all over the world all the time, always. So
Okay.
that's we try to simplify things only instead of calling it, specific names. And then so combining it with TTT is perfectly fine. We just, in the toolbox, we try to get everything that is easy to teach and that people can do themselves, and then perhaps simplify. Because I'm trained in TAT, tapas acupressure technique, which uses this we call head holding in a whole trauma sequence, trauma release sequence.
Okay.
And then we see that just holding the head is so powerful, both for yourself and for somebody else. So if that is a good answer to. And
no, that's fine. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure, because when I, when I got certified, I didn't see that, initially in the book.
No.
I did see the alpha theta.
No, because the certification is the trauma tapping. Yeah,
Okay.
the certification is a trauma tapping technique. And then we have a toolbox where we put everything that we get from somewhere that we think is good. And then depending on the time of the training, we teach one or, perhaps only TTT, sometimes with this head holding, sometimes with this, so it all depends on different things. But we want to say that we have all these other things, that if anybody wants to learn it, we just show it because it's fast.
Okay. No, I use it for myself. No, that's a good answer. I just wanted to make sure I could use it along with this, because that's in my toolbox. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So again, another exercise is called blow out, which is pulling down and breathing out really fast. We're going to do that. I don't remember if we did it last time. Maybe we did. Did we do that last time? No? Okay, exciting. Then let's try to remember that for this time. And then there's an exercise which is a self-massage technique called Do-In. There's a video on our website with Gunilla doing it. It's a wonderful and fun exercise that balances the energy systems of the body and vitalizes it and brings you into the moment and associates you. And Gunilla, wasn't there one time when you came back to a place where you had taught TTT as the relaxation or self-regulation method and doing just for fun, and they had been using it therapeutically?
Yeah, I mean, we often use, I'm trained also as a shiatsu therapist, and in my training as a shiatsu therapist, we learned this Do-In. Has any of you done Do-In? It's the Japanese self-massage. Could you rate? Any of you done it?
Yeah, no. Dara's done it.
But we did, yeah. I don't see everybody raising their hands, but we did it in Yorkshire in the end, didn't we? Anyway, so we did a training in Congo actually some years ago, and we were teaching both the TTT and the Do-In. And when we came back, like Ulf said, they said that and the Do-In we were teaching more as a self-massage, just to energize yourself. But they had been using it really as a treatment and finding that so many had so much somatization, so much tension in the muscles, that when they started doing Do-In, they were releasing so much of this. So they found it as almost as efficient as the tapping. So it is a very good tool. And as Ulf said, there is a video on the website, because here it's a bit complicated to do it in the webinar, where you show it. And actually the only thing it is tapping all over the body, tapping or squeezing, you could say. Is it squeezing, or how to, in English when you do like this? Is that squeezing? Anyway, you can watch that video.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a bit noisy here.
Cool. So another point there, Gunilla got a question from Amy Marie to everyone. Why is the top of the head not included in TTT? Gunilla, do you want to say something about that? You're TFT trained.
Yeah, that's why I wrote it was never included, because Maria was asking why it's not there. So for me, I was trained in TFT, thought field therapy. And thought field therapy, when I was trained, the top point was never there. So when I started doing tapping and started to, together with Ulf and others, reducing the TFT that I had learned into TTT, it was never there. But we always say that if you want to add this top point that EFT uses, a lot, I think. Not everybody, because some don't. So then that's perfectly fine. But the way we teach TTT, it's not there. And that's, I could say, in a way, the only reason is because for me it was never in. So,
Can I say something?
That's
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
The top of the head was added in not right at the start of EFT, just as a way of mixing in three together. It was an acupuncturist who brought that in, and it got adopted. But right at the start of EFT, it was not part of it.
Yeah. And the thing is this, if you look at Rudin's research about tapping, it comes from a slightly different direction than the actual TFT, looking at the different points and muscle testing and what point goes where. Some of the research actually says that it's not incredibly important what points you are actually tapping. I even think that at some point, some researchers said that as long as you're tapping on meridian points, which are more nerve endings connected to the brain than any other part of the body, as long as you're above the waist and you're not tapping on the elbow, you will get most of this effect. Now, depending on what theory you come from, you might say that I think it's important with specific points, or I notice the difference, and that's fine. We don't say anything is wrong or right about it. But basically, there is research pointing to the fact that actually that's why havening works, that's why TAT works, that's why so many of these interventions work, because they're all engaging the nervous system in different ways. And points are one of those ways. Tapping is one of those ways. And kneading or, you know, massaging or holding are just other ways. It's still the same nervous system in the other end. I don't know if that's a good answer or a bad answer, but it's the answer right now. So we're going back to the PowerPoint, and we have the do in there, right? But apart from the do in, we're also working in cross-cultural groups. Now, what does that really mean? Because cross-cultural for some people would mean that it's different cultures. And I went to a fantastic lecture where this guy says the difference between farmers and doctors is a bigger cultural difference within the same country than if you compare the difference between farmers or doctors from different cultures. So culture is a very wide understanding. Sometimes there is a language difference, sometimes there isn't. But let's look at these points. What does it mean to work in cross-cultural groups? We always start everything with the greeting of joy. Now, the greeting of joy, for those of you who weren't here last time, we can do it now. The greeting of joy is very, very simple. If you see me on the screen now, the greeting of joy, just follow me and do what I do. You're going to be clapping and doing stuff with your hands. So see if you can follow. And there you go. That's the greeting of joy. Gunilla, why don't you tell the story?
Yes. So this greeting has its origin in the neighbor country of Rwanda, which is then on the east side here. It's Congo, a huge country. Rwanda is very, very small, and Congo is very big. And we have been working a lot in Congo, and specifically in a place called City of Joy, which is a rehabilitation center for women who have been subjected to gender-based violence in the conflict in Eastern Congo. It's supported by Eve Ensler, who wrote the Vagina monologue, if any of you have seen it or read it or heard about her, who also started V-Day, which has a lot of campaigns against sexual violence. So we were there, and Ulf was there, and we were playing music, and since we often combine tapping with music and dance, which is very popular here, and especially in Congo, people love dancing and love singing. Nobody says, no, I don't know how to sing. If you start some singing, it will become a choir in 2 minutes. So in that place, and as we said, this with working in groups, we always do as much as we can for exchanging things. We want to know what people usually do for healing their symptoms of stress and trauma. So often we start by asking a lot of things, and so that we bring also things, and then we share what we have. And in this exchange, one time, these women in City of Joy, some like 60, 70 young women, they were showing us this greeting. So since then we started doing it. They also have this, what you call it, it's written on the wall there. It says, transform pain to power, transforming pain to power. That's what the vision of that rehabilitation center is. And I can say they have a very powerful transformation when they are the 6 months in that training center. And some of the things they learn is this tapping. And then at that time we learned this greeting. So now we actually do it almost in every training we have. We did it today, Placide and I, when we had the training this afternoon. It brings really joy.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. So we really like and enjoy that. And that's the greeting of joy. What we have else here in cross-cultural groups that we find useful is for everybody to be seen and named. For everybody to be seen and named. So that means that, we usually start with everybody saying their name and saying, who they are. Even if that takes a large part of the meeting, even if that takes a large part of the training, then that's okay. Because as humans, and there's a great Oprah Winfrey talk about this, that one of the most important things for every human is that. Who is that wanted to say something? No?
It is Placide. Placide wanted to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's greeting of joy. So when you
wait, start again.
Yeah, it's about the greeting of joy when you clap and you do here to your chest and you do like this, and like the meaning is like you start with yourself and you give it to other people. So first experience this personally, and the second give it to other people and wait for help from anywhere, from God, from wherever, from the universe. So that's what I want to do. And people have liked a lot when you are doing that before you start the training.
Yep. Thank you. So we continue. To be seen and to be named is a good thing. To find your allies. We always trying to find our allies in every group that we work in. We don't walk into a group and start working or offering them tapping. We try to find somebody who is already an informal or formal leader, somebody that people already listen to, and we offer them. We don't insist. We say, would you like to try this? And usually, if they are an informal leader, it's because they're open-minded. So they will probably say yes. And when they say yes, they will experience it. And from that experience, they will tell their allies in their turn, why don't you give this a shot? So we find that's the easiest door opener, and it's the only one. Now, we've been working out with ACEP, the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, a humanitarian committee, trying to reach out in the States to people. And there's been some challenges because you cannot just send a mail to an organization and say, we'd like to help. You can't walk up to people in a disaster area and say, I know how to make people feel good, can I help? You need to have that ally and that contact before it happens, to have that trust, or you need to find allies and move in through these people afterwards. That's our heartfelt advice. Also, integrity, maintain the integrity of everybody involved. It's their integrity, their culture, whatever culture that is. I mean, there's one culture of firemen, there's another culture of police, there's another culture of peace workers, there's a culture of doctors, there's a subculture of nurses. I mean, it's all about the local culture, whatever that is. Yeah, we don't have a setup phrase. But one of our coworkers, together we came up with what we call a somatic poem. So working with large groups of people cross-culturally, instead of saying everybody open the door to whatever emotional unpleasure or displeasure or unwanted emotion that you have, we do a short somatic poem, which basically is everybody stands up, and it's easy to translate, you know, even with somebody, a translator. And we just say, imagine a rain falling on your head, everything you've seen, everything you've tasted and smelled, your thoughts, your feelings, your heart, your body, all the way down to your feet. And we go through all the 5, 6 senses, and then we take a step forward. There's a movie of this on the website. And that connects everybody to their senses, to the now, and to whatever has troubled them in the past. And from there, we do a group tapping. And that's just one way of doing it, but it's a way that you can do in a cross-cultural group. Music is something we use tremendously a lot. So we do tapping songs. We have people do their own tapping songs. And this is where we find that understanding the encoding of trauma in the theories of Ronald Rudin and Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, those two have really explained the neurology of trauma. So it's about changing your state. It's about becoming associated in your body. It's about expressing yourself and empowering yourself to be a part of your own healing. And doing tapping as a song will do all of this. And music is also one of the things that engage more of your brain than any other activity. Plus, research has just shown that there's a specific part of the brain that responds to music differently than anything else. So we even have a little music center wired into our heads. And games is another way. So all kinds of games are good. One of the games we do a lot is, which I think is ingenious, is just using a balloon. So we've done this in a lot of places. You just inflate one balloon and throw it into the people, and they will have to look up and they will have to pass it between themselves, and nobody can fail. It never drops to the floor. It's good fun, and good fun is the last point. It's laughter. Laughter is vital. If you get anybody to laugh, their healing process has begun, because to laugh, you have to dissociate from the traumatic feeling, or you can't. So a laughter day actually does keep the doctor away. That's our experience. So we'll move on. And I'm not trying to rush through this, but we want to talk to you and show you a lot of other stuff as well. So I am moving through this at a fairly fast pace. Feel free to interrupt. We will also have a moment for questions after. We just want you to get the information so that you get a feeling for what we're trying to do and how we're approaching this. So self-help versus helping others. There are some differences. When you help yourself, you know that you want to be helped because it's you helping you. But when you're trying to help somebody else, we always say, offer it. Don't insist. Right? So you don't say, I can help you, or let me help you. You say, I know a way that has helped me. Would you like to try it? And then, before you start helping somebody, you agree on continuing until calm, because emotions can come in layers like skins on an onion. So some people become afraid when they've been out of touch with their feelings for a long time to protect themselves. And the tapping starts and they relax, and all of a sudden, woo, tears well up. And instead of having to say, you know, that's okay, it's cool, you know, let's just continue. Beyond the tears, there could be anger. After the anger, there could be calm. And if they know that beforehand, it's so much easier. I'm talking now because Gunilla has so much noise in the background. Usually we talk a lot, both of us, but I hope, you know, Gunilla will join in anytime there's anything. You sit like two ships passing. You never sit in front of a person you're trying to help, because number one, you're blocking them. Number two, it's integrity unwise, especially if it's a person who has been violated or abused. It's threatening to have somebody in front of them. So you sit like two ships passing. This is described in the book, which you have as a PDF. And we always show on ourselves first. We say, listen, I'm going to be tapping you. I'm going to be tapping here and here and here. And you show it on yourself so that they know what to expect. And then it's easier for them when you say, if you want to relax and close your eyes, it's okay. If you want to keep your eyes open, that's fine too. But they will know what to expect because you showed it on you first. And then the famous question, where we will have Gunilla online again, unmuted, which is, Gunilla, by the way, you've been doing this since 2007. And I know that in some of these techniques, people go into an abreaction where they are flooded. And I want to ask you, how many times has that happened to you?
It has never happened. And that's what is so fascinating. It is because working with people who have been so traumatized and seeing that this tapping really works so well on the nervous system that it calms down the responses, the stress responses so well. That is what has given me this fantastic confidence in working with people who have lived through very difficult things and are living with many symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So my answer is, it has never happened to me that there has been what would be called abreactions or flooding or going deeper into the feeling without getting out when you have finished the second round. And that's why we also do 2 rounds always. It's like we say, that's like this washing and rinsing, that the first round is like washing your clothes with soap, and then the breathing is like wringing the clothes. You get that water dirty, and then you always rinse, washing and rinsing. That's why we call it also in the song that Ulf has composed. It says, this washing and rinsing. And then because we see that often something starts in the first round, and then with the breathing in between, releasing that, and then in the second round of the tapping, it really often concludes into some kind of calmer state of mind. Then, of course, as we say, that if you even after the second round still do not, the person still do not feel really calm, or perhaps there comes a headache, a little dizziness, or something that when things are reorganizing, it will be felt in our senses, and sometimes that brings some nausea or some of this dizziness. And then continue again, So that's why, referring back to the other point about continuing until calm. So this is through having worked like this with so many people and seeing that it's actually the tension goes down and the balance comes is fascinating. So, but at the same time, we need to know these distraction techniques that are available.
Yeah. And you could also say that in one way, when you are tapping somebody else, you are providing safety for them. The nervous system will switch off the stress response and kick in what is called the relaxation response when it perceives the situation as safe. So when you're holding that space for them by providing the tapping, so they don't have to think about that, they can close their eyes because somebody's there caring for them, and you are doing it. The first round, they might be thinking a little bit about, what's actually happening. But when the second round starts, it's like, I know this, I can relax even more. And I think that's also part of it. So there's so many different aspects to this, but some people ask us, is there a difference between being tapped by somebody and tapping yourself? And the answer is absolutely. Everybody we ask feel that it has a bigger effect when somebody does for you. It helps to tap yourself. It helps more to be tapped. But if somebody by chance should happen to go into some kind of emotional state that seems to accelerate, then you should know distraction techniques. So that's like having a fire extinguisher. It's not because your home is on fire every day. You might learn it, have it, know how to use it, and never use it, hopefully. And that's what a distraction technique is. It's there so that you know what to do if somebody starts to react. And that is, if somebody gets too emotional, a distraction technique is asking them to either open their eyes or to simply spell their name backwards, or to count in steps of 3 or 5, or to say what date it is today. Anything that kicks in cognition and the frontal lobe will be a distraction because it's completely unrelated to the trance of a reaction that they're probably leaning into. Anything that pulls them back into now and here is a distraction technique.
I just want to add something.
Yes?
Wait, yeah,
Please.
because I came to think about now when I was in Greece last month, because I was working with refugees that come mainly from Iraq and Syria. And one guy I was working with, he really got into, when we were doing the tapping, you could see it's like these layers of things, because he had been tortured by the Daesh, by the ISIS in Iraq. And when we were doing the tapping, you could see that he was going into, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. But what I did at that time was actually, because I know that most people in the Arabic-speaking world, they feel very safe, or they feel very calmed about a certain kind of music by Fairuz. I don't know, Pearl, if you know Fairuz, of your neighbors who are Arabic speakers there in Jerusalem, but still almost everybody, even the Farsi speakers from Iran, they listen to Fairuz. She's by now 90, she's from Lebanon, she's a singer. So I actually had the person I was working with and asked him if he had some Fairuz, because he was from Syria, on his telephone. So we put on that. So that's also this that Ulf was referring to, the bringing the person into that feeling of safety, that music is like safety for so many people. So by knowing these kind of things, it's also a way of not distracting, but of bringing creating this safe space that you're working in. That was just something I came to think about. So that's
if I can put in something, my experience is that for me the simplest way when there is emotion coming is asking people to roll their eyes in their head, and they calm down. I've been told that it's connecting the right and the left brain, and it goes very quickly, very easily. And I do a lot on the phone. They roll their heads and they calm down very quickly. I think that's a good method. I'm sorry, I'll have to leave you now, but I will listen to the rest of the.
Can I just say also, Bianca, before you go, I agree that I will bring them back to them now, because it's very here and now. For some people who are traumatized, eye rolling can be painful, and there's a theory about that, because it's eye accessing cues, and you could be happening to be rolling into the area where they have an unpleasant memory. So I just want to throw that in there.
Mind you, Ulf, I never do the rolling for them. They have to they roll it like they feel like.
Ah, like they feel, yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
So they will hopefully go into.
Yeah, and they will naturally avoid the places they don't want to go with the eye. That's good. Perfect way of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much today.
Excellent. Thanks. Great. So we say thank you. We all wave happily, and we go back into the PowerPoint, where we now are saying trust the method and yourself. This is vital. You, Gunilla, can you say 2 words about that?
Yeah, I mean, it is like we have this method, and trusting yourself. I mean, it's of course this. I mean, the most important thing is always, before we do anything, to go into this kind of centered state, saying that you center yourself before you do something, before we go into this situation. But this is, I think, obvious for all of you. And trusting the method, it just relates back to what we said before, that we know that this method works, so don't hesitate in it, what you do.
Yeah, thank you. And also bring humor and support. So people sometimes, not anymore that much, because they've seen our smiling faces on Facebook, but people say, oh, you're working with traumatized people. That must be so hard. And I would say it's the opposite. It's absolutely not hard, and it's not necessarily depressing. What they want is not necessarily empathy for coming there and us feeling like them. If we bring humor and we bring support and compassion, that's what is wanted mostly. I would say always. I've never run into anybody not wanting humor and support. So we say bring humor and support when you're helping others. A lot of people who get burnt out do so because they're trying to help people feel better by feeling with them, by using pure empathy. That's kind of tricky, and rarely works. So you have to be careful with that. And always congratulate people once you've helped them, but we already said that. So we have now come to the manifesto that we wrote to not die driving a car too far from one place in California to another. And I think, Gunilla, I think you should be the one to read this.
Mm. And I have some kind of feeling that we did this last time. Did we or did we not? Anybody recognize this manifesto? No, everybody's shaking their heads, or at least those I see. Okay, good. So this manifest then came to, in some short way, try to explain the way we're doing things, not the way, because the technique itself is super simple, as you see. I mean, you can learn it in 10 minutes, but then it is the way you do it. And one of the first things we came to talk about was this, that one of the most important things for us is that wherever we come, we want to hear what are the experiences of people that we are going to work with, and to listen, meaning that take off your shoes and listen first. That means that we don't come saying this is how you should do it, but first we check, how are things here? What do people do? What do people sing? What do people want to listen to? What their experience is? And again, this that asking about their own experiences of stress and trauma, and how they themselves get out of that. So that is, take off your shoes and listen for, and that comes actually from a friend of ours who once said that, you know, when I grew up, he was from Dominican Republic, and he said one time when we were discussing, he said that, you know, when I grew up, I thought my mother was saying a lot of stupid things, but now when being a bit elder, I understand that she was completely right. And one of the things she said, my son, you take off your shoes and listen first wherever you come. And for us, that is, you know, we work in many different cultural settings, and like we said before, it's not doesn't have to be in different countries, but just in different environments. But first, finding out what is it that is the issue here in this place, and how do people deal with it. That is how we look at it, and it has become phrased like this from our friend Joel. Yes, please, Ulf. And want to learn, that goes together with it, is that there's always something to learn. It's like I say here, since I came to Rwanda first time in 2007, I don't know how I could have learned all what I have learned if I would not have come here, even if it could seem as if I go somewhere just to, or we go somewhere to teach. Of course we teach, but it is like I always come back with more learning than teaching, and being open to this, which comes to this being humble to the situation where you are, or the place where you are, or the people you are with. Yes, please, Ulf. And be inspired is this to feel that the place where you are, that there is always something to be inspired by from other people or from the situation itself. And I excuse again now that the level of noise is rising here again. But be inspired also by that, because here people are actually gathering and having some nice time together. I'm in a place where some young guys are gathering for some excursion they're going to do, and dare to fail, meaning this, that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to start doing what we are doing. It is like, I could say that when the first time I came here, I mean, I learned a lot from my mentor, but then from there, like especially with this technique, because nothing bad can happen, but start daring to work with others and showing it to others, because it will give so much back. And if failing, and that is, I mean, through, for me, the whole life, I mean, every time we feel that we have failed, we rather have something to learn, and we will do it differently the next time, because there's nothing wrong with failing. It is just the way that we can learn more. It is to try something, and then you try something else, and you try it. Oh, perhaps I do it like this next time. And then you say, oh, no, it wasn't really like that. So let me change it a bit back again, or to another thing, or like this, that we add other tools into what we're doing, and we're checking, is this good together with it? Or Ulf and I today discussed, oh, so if we're working with business guys, should we remove some parts of this tapping? What do we do? I mean, daring to next time to do it, and then of course always daring to fail. Yeah, so now the PowerPoint disappeared for me. Yeah, so next. And use what you have. I mean, meaning this, that we have so much experience. I mean, if we're using all the experience we have in the point of life where we are, there's so much, because we all have had so many things that we have learned through our life, and understanding that we can use all of those parts in every situation we are, because the universe has been providing us with all those learnings, and then there's always a moment that we can use them. Yes, please, Ulf. And that's what we say, take no credit for healing, meaning that it's not us healing, we are not fixers, we are just providing this room of safety, we're providing a tool, but the healing is of the person, him or herself. So that's why we say we always finish when we have done tapping for somebody else, saying congratulations to that person. It's your own healing power that has started and has done this process for you. Pay your way if necessary, that's what we say, for if it's possible, that to share this tool, sometimes we can do it ourselves, paying it and not expecting always to be that we should have something back. It is like we, of course, do many things just without getting paid, and also paying for coming somewhere, because we see that there's a great need for this tool to reach many places. So that's why we say pay your way if necessary, and if you have possibility, you know. And paying can be in many different ways. And bring humor and stability again. This, that it is nice, you know, it is like, and in a way, again, it is that when the person comes into this space of safety, and when you find a tool and they start doing, especially when you start doing tapping together with others, it almost always brings this kind of humor. And if you, I mean, coming back to what Placide was saying about this clapping, that we say you start by healing yourself and then you heal others, and then you need some power from somewhere. And you can also, this can also be a symbol of sharing it with the world, that the more you work with yourself, help yourself first, the more stability you will bring, because as we know that both stress but also stability transfers to others. The more stable you are, the more centered you are, the more easy it will be for others to become centered in that moment. Yeah. So that was it. So I was just thinking that after this, that please let's have some questions before we continue. Or what you say, Ulf?
I would say that all we have left are these 6 points. So maybe we'll just run through them and take the questions after, if that's okay. So point here is, I mean, they're not so many. It's know your limits. I mean, we say dare to fail. We also say know your limits, and that would seem to be going against each other, but they're not. They're hand in hand. Everything depends is something we say. We say the answer to any question you have at any point in life from here on is it depends. Everything depends. Should I tap on the head? Should I tap faster? Should I tap slower? Will they react? Should I have done it differently? Is there a perfect way to do this? You know, should I work with what I have, or should I wait for something else? The answer is it depends. You know, there is no cookie recipe for life or the people in front of you. So it's basically a humble, agnostic attitude to everything. The answer is it depends. Is this energy meridians? Is it blocked energies? Is it neurological? Is it chemistry? Is it healing touch? Well, it depends. It could be all of them. So that's our answer. Avoid every stereotype, something that we keep saying. Avoid every stereotype, right? Because stereotypes are Stereotypes are not so good. Is my mic sounding strange? No, it's sounding good to you? Okay. Excellent. And then respect every person. And that's basically the same as avoiding stereotypes, but not only, because when you respect every person, it also means that stereotypes could be stereotypes about culture. So basically they work together. We also say that the technique is it's part of the treatment. Learn the rest, because the rest could be understanding people, understanding their culture, being interested, getting experience. So trust the technique, but it's not only that, of course. We already said offer, don't insist. And our final point on the manifesto of a trauma tapper, which you will be very soon, unless you are already, is be prepared for miracles. Because they do happen all the time. We see it every day. So there we are. And now we're back. So please, any questions are welcome. Who has a question? Yeah, go ahead, all of you, at the same time.
I'll dive in. I took myself off mute very fast. I tend to work with my clients across distances, across the country, in different countries. The 8-year-old boy that I'm working with, and I taught the trauma tapping to, and he loved the video, was of course through Zoom also. And I'm wondering if that's something, if you have any thoughts about that.
What kind of thoughts?
Well, my impressions from reading the book and from the conversations that we've been having, when you talk about tapping on someone else, clearly I'm not doing that because I'm using Zoom. I haven't found it to be a barrier in working with other people, and I'm just wondering if they're, that's why I'm raising the question. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be doing it that much with people in the same room, at least initially. So I was wondering if you have any comments about that.
No, well, there's a chapter in the book about using Skype for sessions. Yeah, and I do that a lot. I think it works fine. If you're going to be working with somebody, and this is, in a way, it's part about know your limits. If you're going to be working with somebody who might have an emotional reaction, and it's not that you can't handle it, but it's that the connection gets lost, you don't want that. So it's a good idea to ask them if they can have somebody nearby in a room next to them, not necessarily listening, but prepared to just go and check on them. Because if something does start and the connection is lost, then you've lost your grip with them. Otherwise, I have no specific thoughts about it. I think it works lovely, and I think it's a great way to help treat people on the distance. Amy Marie? Yeah, you're welcome. Amy Marie, you had a question?
Yes. I read in the book that you talked about establishing connections with organizations before you went in to work with them specifically. And I was thinking about that, making connections with organizations I don't already have an established contact with. I just wondered if you had suggestions or advice on what you've done specifically to do that.
Well, I think
I would say that. Sorry.
So go ahead.
Ulf, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say shortly, there's been a lot of discussions about that with the ACIP Human Hearing Committee.
So can you tell more specifically what kind of organizations it would be?
Well, one of the places I was thinking, there's a lot of sex trafficking in this area, and there's an organization where youth go after they've been rescued from sex trafficking, and that was one of the things that I was thinking about. There's another organization, I actually do have a connection with them, but a community for LGBTQ youth. But that one I have a connection with. The other one I don't have any current established connection with.
Because it seems
I think Gunil's connection is going a little bit bad. I'll continue and we'll see if she pops back online. When we've had discussions with this, what it turns out it's usually just going there and being there. I mean, if you go there, and you're present, sometimes just knocking on the door and saying, is there anybody here who'd like to have lunch? I just want to discuss, what's possible to do with a relaxation method. I could leave a book here for you to check out, we could see. And that usually will do it. It's about being present. It's, have you seen the movie with the mountain gorillas? I think it's James Fonda, isn't it? Old movie? Well, it's about just being there so that you become part of the landscape for a while, because that gains trust. Popping in, saying, hello, I can help you, call me, is not going to gain trust. But being present and visible will do that. So popping by like every day, just for 2 minutes or something, will start building that relationship. And from there, it's easy to move forward. That's the impression I get. Does that answer?
Yeah, so basically not leading with the tapping.
No. Correct. Leading by taking off your shoes and, trying to understand them. I'm curious about your work. What are you guys doing here? What are the problems you run into, what does it seem to be that you cannot help them with that you'd like to help them with? Oh, you mean they're stressed? Because I actually work with a method for that, and I'd be happy to show it if there's anybody here who'd like to try it. I think it works for me. What do you say, Gunilla?
Yeah, now I didn't hear all the way because I was disconnected here. But it is, it's again coming back to that finding your ally. That's what we mean with this. It is like looking around. Perhaps you do know somebody who knows somebody who works with that, and getting that connection in. And like we'll say, finding out what are they already doing? Is there some niche of this work where it would be, better to do it, present it as, perhaps you can do some, relaxation or with somebody, or if it's somebody stuff, in some way, finding some way in through somebody. That's almost always where I've done everywhere. That's how the work started here, that I knew some people from somewhere else. And that's how they started here, and then they knew somebody else. It's like that. So finding that ally in one way or another by, like we'll say, checking out what is the work or with somebody else. Do you get it?
Yes.
Is that some kind of help?
Definitely. So it's really about establishing the trust relationship. Basically just being a good, effective liaison, I guess.
In a way, it's that, and that, I think, because that's really what we work so much on. It's networking. We talk about this wherever we come, and we relate to it, and we're networking and talking here. So I run into people almost every day that in some way or another, they have some kind of, it's some way you can connect this when you start. And then, if you have it, and then always also, like with us here now, or, finding out who has connections there. It's like, me, I have worked with the project, so I know people almost in every country. So when we start discussing with somebody, I say, let me find out, I was connecting some people in Chad the other day, which is in the middle of Africa. But still, I connected one from UK, one from Sweden, and one from Chad. So they will work together, and through your network of people, often there is somebody who is, into that. So I think I would say that there. And again, this listen, take off your shoes and listen first.
Thank you.
Pearl?
Yes, I'm thinking whether this is the right time to ask the question. Hi. I'm working with, say, people who are very depressed, so who are not feeling anything. I'm specifically thinking of a 20-year-old boy who said he's been depressed since the age of 6, and there's nothing in life that he likes, or just nothing. So there isn't any body feelings, no memories, no nothing. I don't know how you would work with something like that. Just because there's nothing to tune into.
No. Well, there's his body to tune into. If you do tapping with him, he will be feeling something. He will be getting sensory input into his body. And if you provide the calm during the tapping, and he just closes his eyes and relaxes and allows that to happen, he is actually interacting with you. He is allowing himself to relax, and he will trigger the relaxation response. And it's hard to say, you know, why he's turned.
Yeah.
Probably something happened that made it safer to not feel your feelings and not feel.
Yeah, that's yes. He now knows what happens. You know, a lot of bullying at school and having to go back into that every day, and he didn't angry parents who were getting divorced, that there was nowhere to go with it. He knows that. He has a lot of self-knowledge, but there's actually nothing bringing up feeling-wise.
But I see you, that, and I'll hand it over. I just say I would simply start by tapping just for tapping to see if you can get the relaxation response started, and after that, I would just touch ever so softly on something. Okay, Odette, did you have a thought about that?
The actual feeling of the fact that he has no feelings and can't connect is in itself a feeling to tune to. I found that works really well. The I can't feel anything is quite sufficient.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've had about 10 sessions with him. I've had a lot of sessions. So I've probably tried most things.
Yeah, but you know what?
And he likes coming, and
that's what I was going to say. If he keeps coming back for those sessions, they're probably doing exactly what they should be doing, because he needs a trust to be built up for him to allow himself to relax. And for that to happen, he might need 20 sessions for all you know. If he keeps coming back and he's not getting worse, then I would just simply continue those sessions and not put any pressure that anything needs to happen. You know, let the session in itself be the stability that he's looking for, and just keep doing them, and, you know, embellish them. You know, this time let's have a cup of coffee. This time, you know, funny thing happened. You know, whatever. But I think that is in itself extremely healing for a person like that.
So and there's no music. It's no music he likes, or something that he likes, you know, that can evoke something.
Nothing. He doesn't like anything in life. He's just existing.
Well, if he comes back, he's liking the sessions, so he is liking.
That is true. That is true. But it's knowing what to tune into when he first comes. I think that I find difficult.
Yeah, but you could do an if. That's what's called informational havening. Havening looks into this specifically in the different techniques, and one is informational. So what you could do is you could say, if you knew what to tune into, imagine what that would be. And then he'd have to think in that direction. So if you knew what to tune into, imagine what that would be, or what that might be. If there was something that you could tune into that would release all of this, I wonder what that could be. So anything that starts with I wonder or if will start a transderivational search on his part, looking for whatever that might be. And he can't help it, you know? And you could even say, imagine if there was just one thing that you could think that would resolve all of this. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And you're not saying it, there is, but you're asking him to imagine. So you're inviting him to be curious.
Yeah.
Does that make sense for anybody?
Yeah. Just to let you know that I have found the TTT with him much more effective than the EFT. So I'm really, really, really grateful. And we just use one word at a time. And then we just silently tap with that one word. Well, I don't say silently. We just use the one word. And then afterwards, I ask him what other word pops up. And we go one. And that's how we got to the bullies at school. And it was really, really good. I don't think EFT would have done that. So I'm very grateful.
You could actually, I like that. You could actually try telling him that this round, we're not doing a word, and we'll just see what happens. Because actually not doing a word will allow him to not be distracted from whatever it is he needs to think about. Okay, because the word has the meaning of keeping him connected to the issue, but if he's avoiding the issue, not having a word could allow him that space. I would just try it.
Okay. I'm seeing him tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Yeah, wonderful. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
So,
you really have to tell how it's going.
Yep. So we had a couple of questions, and I had Frida and I had Adara. So Frida, did you have a question? I can unmute you. Whoops.
Oh, I unmuted here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. My question is about the certification. how to go about getting certification. Since I'm a qualified EFT practitioner, do I have to hand in 6 test cases?
Yep.
Or how do you work?
Yeah, we have a simple process in for everybody, and we collect them online so that we can show them, afterwards. So all we want for you to do is just report 6 sessions and answer the assessment questions.
Okay.
It's a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Where do
Yeah, that
I
is to-
find these?
Sorry?
We have it all. It's all on our website now. I don't, because we are just changing to our new website. So I'm not really, but we will send you the link. Isn't that so, Ulf? Because I'm not really. I just looked at the new one today. I mean, the one we are working on. So it's that 6 cases, and then doing it as TTT for somebody else. I mean, on somebody else, which is the whole thing.
I have been doing. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's it. And then it's some 24 questions that you also answer online, and you will directly get the answer back. It's all there on the website. It's called on the certification, but we'll check it and send you the link when from the new website. Because do my best to remember, otherwise you just remind us, please.
Yes. Okay, because I can't wait to start. Yes.
You can start.
But you can start. You can start.
You can start using it immediately.
Oh yes,
no
I am
problem
using it, but like since I'm soon going to South Africa and I have connections there with the Healing of the Memories organization, but I think they might like a certification or something. Yeah.
But that's, I have to know. I mean, you have to tell us more about that, because I've heard about that organization. I think I know somebody who's working in that. I'll have to check. So when are you leaving?
Okay.
When are you going?
I still have to organize it. Probably not until November, but I'm in
so we are good on time.
I've lived there. Yes. Okay. Thanks.
Good.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. So Adara, you had a question as well?
Yeah, not a question around anything. I'm following anything. It's wonderful. But I have an out-of-state client coming, and since I just, found out about this yesterday, I want to get to the, and I hope we have enough time, the havening before she rings my bell. This has really been wonderful, and it's been great. And I'm going to go back on the website, but you had said before you did the PowerPoint, you were going to touch on or show us the havening, and I really want to do that before she rings my bell, and I got to go, and because I'm doing this with the client that's coming, the TTT, but I want to get to the havening before I have to get off the video. And I just have to thank you all and everybody else for their wonderful questions too. But I want to get that before I hear the ding dong.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you shortly about. Let me just ask before that. How many here have brought somebody to tap on? Has anybody brought somebody to tap on? Pearl, I cannot hear you.
My husband, under duress, might come in. No, because he's got a cough that he can't get rid of. I don't know if that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Absolutely. Frida?
Yeah, I can quickly phone my neighbor. I said I'll phone you when you are needed. Otherwise, she had to sit here for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's good.
So can I?
Yeah, please do. I'll tell you all shortly about havening as your neighbor walks over.
Yeah.
Amy Marie, did you have a question, or are you bringing it? I do not hear you, but I see you talking.
I was just saying, I was also one who I have somebody I can tap on.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so we want to do that for the last part. So let me just explain really fast and short, because that's all it takes, what havening is. And we can mail you materials on this as well. So Ronald Rudin does research during 14 to 16 years about what is it that actually neurologically can explain the success of tapping. So he looks into all different neurological explanations of what it actually is that happens in the brain. What's the chemistry? What are the hormones? How does trauma encode? What part of the amygdala is actually tying in the stimuli and receptors into the actual triggering of the traumatic component of a memory. So when he comes out with this, it's actually explaining tapping. But then he starts thinking, I wonder, is it really necessary to tap, or is it about getting information biohemispherically into the brain to relax it? And what is it that the relaxation actually does? So the hypothesis is that when you relax, you enhance the delta wave. The delta wave releases a calcium neurate that actually will dissolve the AMPA receptors of the amygdala. All very techie talk. But it's an explanation model, and there is another way of getting that delta wave going in the relaxation response other than tapping, which is havening, which is touch. So it's the science of touch. And if you use the shoulders like this, or you use the face like this, or you use the hands like this, if you do that for 5 minutes, and then in the middle, similar to EFT, there is an eye movement, and there's distraction technique built into it. So there you do singing, humming a tune, you do some math, and then basically you repeat it. So it's interchangeable with a lot of other interventions. It's built on the scientific explanation of how much of that touch is needed and when is it needed to actually resolve a traumatic response. I find the training extremely useful. I use them interchangeably. We teach self-havening, simplified self-havening when we are working with large groups of people. It's very easy to make people do it very fast because it's a very simple movement. I would say that for me, if I would just choose one big advantage of havening to many other techniques, is that you can explain it on the phone without seeing the person. You can tell the person, can you use your hands and just rub them together? Rub the palms of your hands together. Hold the phone with your head. Can you rub your palms together? And then you can talk to them. And that will actually calm down the nervous system if they do that for 5 to 10 minutes. So it's useful in that way. It's very interesting science. It's very well formulated. And the different variations of havening, actually, you can translate back into tapping. So I just find it useful and fun. I recommend it.
Like ships.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can send you also a video we did in Uganda when some of the participants in a workshop did a song with this self-havening.
Self-havening, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's nice. We'll send it out to you later.
Okay.
So now we have some.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Adara.
Some participants here. I think if you have to take this because it's too noisy.
Bye.
So yeah, okay, I'll take this. So we have 10 minutes left, and in 10 minutes we will do a tapping session. It will be wonderful, and we will all enjoy it. And to do so, I will ask Gunilla to speak with you all for like 3 minutes while I try to conjure a person to tap on. So Gunilla, the floor is yours.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. So that's very good. So we're gonna do this tapping on somebody else, because it is like, as I talked before, that as you know, I mean, there is a lot of science of touch and to do something for somebody else. So there is a difference between doing this tapping to oneself and showing it to somebody else, and then to do it for somebody on somebody's body. And of course, it has to be agreed on. And in some places, this is a challenge. In other places, it's not. And where we are working here, it is seldom that anybody has anything to that people can exchange. So what we often do is in groups when we teach first how to do the tapping for oneself, and then after I've done that, we ask people just to group 2 and 2 and tap on each other and exchange this. And the reaction is almost always that people feel much more relaxed. They feel both taken care of, and the person doing it feels like really, what you say, nourishing somebody with something. And you can also relax into whatever it is that is bothering you without having to think of how to do the tapping. It is also, you can say, in some circumstances, like prayer for somebody, because there's somebody there thinking about the well-being for you. And then this, that good touch is healing. I mean, it brings the well-being hormones into to the body. So there are many ways, and also that it is easier to be in that bubble of healing, or this healing zone, when somebody's doing something for you than when doing it yourself. So that are many reasons for us to keep teaching this. And for me, when I learned TFT, we also did it to each other. I mean, it's like in Sweden, we don't really have a big issue about touch, like in some places, like in the US, where therapists are not allowed to touch their clients. So it is different from place to place. So now, oh wow, so here we have Charlie. Hi. So thank you again for being our fantastic participant in this.
Expert guinea pig.
Very much expert. Yeah, and very nice hairstyle also, Charlie.
So here we go. We're going to do some tapping. So if you have somebody there with you, just tap along. If you don't, just look at it. Our chairs are seated like two ships passing. So if Charlie would like to just run away from here, he can do so without bumping into me, which is good because I'm his father. And if this was somebody, I would just simply tell him, Charlie, I'd like to show you a relaxation massage. That's pretty nice. It's called trauma tapping. Is that okay with you? Yes. Fine, lovely. And also, what I'm going to do is I'll be tapping on some points on your hand, on your face, here on your collarbone, under your arm, and on your fingers. And if you close your eyes, it's probably going to be easier for you to relax, if that's okay. If you want to interrupt, you interrupt. If anything pops up, you know, we just continue until we're calm. Is that okay with you? Okay, beautiful. I'm going to start now. So I take his hand, and I do the karate point, and I will do this silently. He's shutting his eyes, and he's disregarding what I'm saying, so I will just continue here.
And for those of you who have somebody to tap on, you just do the same.
There we go. And then when I reach for his head, I usually do a crown pull, which means I pull with my thumbs like this 3 times. And then I start tapping with 2 fingers on his eyebrows, side of his head, under the eyes. Usually put a hand under the chin, because if people relax a lot, their teeth will become clattering a little bit if the lower jaw is loose. On the chin, collarbone. Then I lift the arm, and I do it under the armpit. And then I'll take his hand in mine, and I usually do it like this. I put his fingers on mine and rest it there so I can reach the fingertip. And then it's back here on the collarbone, under the collarbone. And for the breathing here, we usually take the hand between our hands and we go breathe in and we breathe with them. So we do it again. And then it's the second time. You can take the same hand or the other hand. And then remember the ground pull.
Oh. Yeah.
And usually we just sit like this for a while after. Now, I could have asked them for an SUD, a subjective unit of distress, before we started. I could have said, is there anything you want to tune into? Can you feel it now? You know what it is? Could you give it a level, 0 to 10? And then I'd ask him now afterwards, I'd say, so from 0 to 10, if you think about the same thing, what do you notice? We never say, is it better? You know, what is it like? We just say, what can you notice about it? So we invite it to be whatever it is, so that there's no sense of failing if it hasn't gone down, or, you know, whatever that might be. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Are we done now? We go.
Thank you, Charlie.
So there we go.
So, for those of you, oh no, don't let them go already.
No. Charlie can go, but they have to stay.
Charlie can go, but so we can just have some comments from your. Let's hear from Jill. This is your. So can we just have the comments from your tapis?
Yes.
Your tapis.
This is my husband.
Yes. Hello, husband. Hi.
How was that for you?
So how was that?
It was relaxing.
Good to hear.
Now I'm gonna take a nap.
Good. Please do. Please feel free. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks. And Frida, your tapis?
This is Caroline.
I felt it's very calming. Very calming, and I had a headache when I came, so I sort of held it there, and we'll see what happens.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. Pearl?
This is my husband.
Hi, Simon. Yes, I can just repeat what the others have said. It is relaxing, in as much as if Pearl would have carried on a bit longer, I probably would have fallen asleep. But I've got a very bad cough. I've had it for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm coughing up phlegm, whether it's from a viral infection, I'm not sure, but I think I had the same last year, and last year it took weeks to clear up. So I'm hoping that this bit of tapping will help, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, if you want the neurological explanation for that, if that's what you're looking for, when you do tapping, your sympathetic nervous system actually downregulates, and that's why you feel relaxed after. When that happens, something called the relaxation response or the healing zone kicks in, which actually means that on a cell level, epigenetically, you're actually upregulating your anti-inflammatory part of your body. So it would not be strange in any way or magical. It would be perfectly natural for your immune system to kick that cough out faster.
Good. Well, we're gonna tap all night now.
See? There you go. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
There you go.
And
Wonderful.
Amy,
All right.
Amy Marie, you did some tapping.
Yes.
Yes, I lost my tappy. But she's really good about saying, like, okay, like usually one round for her is about as much as she's going to do. But I just I think that for her it is I think whichever points it is that feels good for her. Even sometimes, you know, just for her the karate chop point is what feels good for her, and so that's just what we work on. And I think that when we do it as a family too, it just encourages her to know that, hey, we're all doing this. This is a part of how we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really
That's
empowering
wonderful.
for kids to be allowed to tap on their parents, because kids want to help, and this actually gives them a context and a method that not only are they allowed to participate in the helping, it actually helps.
Mm-hmm.
There's not so many kids you can allow a kid to do that actually helps in that way. I think that's really empowering.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we had a friend who is a teacher in Sweden, in the north of Sweden. She was teaching it to kids in her school and asked them they were fundraising for a project somewhere. She said, now you learned this, they got some certificates from us, and go home to your stressed parents and help them with their stress, and then ask them to pay, and then the money they pay we will give for this project. And they did, and they were super happy.
Wonderful. So we have asked everybody now, I hope. Do you have any more questions, thoughts, or reflections? Remember, you are free to ask us anything you want as an email, any amount of time you want. As long as we're here on this earth walking around reading mails, we will answer them. So you don't have to think about everything now. But if you do have a question now, please feel free to ask it.
Okay, shall I go now?
You can stay if you want.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, Pearl?
Just on a practical session regarding the 6 sessions, can one do it with the at the same time, or you will want the session only to be because my sessions are an hour and a quarter. So we're not going to do any talking. You can do it. We're going to do both. You want me to just do the
We hear you really badly, but I don't know why. Your sound was great 2 seconds ago.
Oh, that's strange. Shall I say that again? Did you hear what
Yeah, please. There we go. Now we all hear you. See, we're all nodding.
I was just going to ask you just a practical question regarding the 6 sessions that you want. Does it have to be, would you like it just to be TTT completely, or can there be some EFT within the sessions as well?
I didn't really hear the question. Is it for the certification you were asking if you can do it? Yeah. I mean, what can I say? We prefer that you do it in a TTT way.
Okay, we just stick to the TTT for the whole hour. Okay, fine.
Well, the thing, you know, there's this guy called Chris. He wrote a book. I don't remember the name of the book, but he has this saying, which is be the educated rebel. So he says, first learn the rules, then you break them.
Okay. Now, I work on a Tuesday, so I'm going to be tomorrow at the Mind Body Fertility Center.
Yeah.
So we're talking tomorrow, but they're also loving it there.
And I also think specifically because you know EFT and because you have been doing it like with one word and minimizing the words, I think 6 sessions is going to be over in a jiffy for you, because I mean they can be like 5-10 minutes each. It's less than an hour or an hour and a half for all 6, which means that you could, you know, I think you might discover something fun by doing it, you know, if only for those 6, because it does change. It is different, and you need to do. I mean, if you want to see any pattern with what you're doing, 1 time is no time, 2 time is no time. You need 3 sessions minimum to see if there is a pattern to it. You know, if you want
take
to
it as an experiment.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want to experiment with it and do it completely wordlessly, there's a minimum of 3 before you find a pattern. A pattern like saying that, you know, what really happens with people when they're completely quiet. It's exciting. Yeah, it's like, I heard this joke. I'm a musician, and, you know, there's this joke among musicians that if you have couples that need to go to couples therapy because they're not talking to each other, instead you should take them to a concert because everybody talks during a bass solo.
I like that. Okay.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously I don't play the bass, okay?
Yeah, I must. I didn't want to say anything, but you know.
All right, so let's round this off. Does anybody have any more questions? Because if not, we're going to do the famous last wave or first wave. Or Marianne has a question. Yes, please, from Hawaii. Bring it on.
There. Hi. I have a question because I'm not getting the emails. So I will send you an email. Where do I send it to make sure that you have my email?
Well, you can send it to info@peacefulheart.se.
Okay. Gotcha. I will do that. Thank you. Thank you so much for all this.
So are we all good? Are we happy?
Ulf,
Very happy.
Ulf, I want to say something.
Yes, please do.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yes.
I lived with stress and trauma my whole life. Earlier, I thought that I didn't take harm of the traumatic events that happened to me. Now I realize that these events have formed my whole life. I've used this tapping technique every day for approximately 3-4 years. I've had very good help from Ulf with all the trauma and even during my cancer treatment. I'm very tired and sometimes I drop words and forget what to say, even in Swedish. I hope that will be better soon as everything else. I'm so grateful for all the help and treatment I got from Ulf. My life is a million times better now than before my contact with Ulf. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you for giving that feedback, Lena. I really appreciate it. You've been doing a majestic journey. You should be proud of yourself. You're really strong.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for taking part in this. So, dear friends, we thank you all so much. We're looking forward to hear from you. So, thank you. And meet you somewhere over in real life or in this virtual life or wherever we are. But still, we are all together. And like we say here, Turikume, we are all together all the time. And we exist because the other one exists. And we are doing this. So welcome so much into this network of healing, this healing zone. Thank you.
Stay in touch. Be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.